Good evening. Thank you for joining Stargazers with Matt Rogers. It is now the 4th of December 2024. Here we have on the screen Dr. Robert S. Harrington, Planet X and the mysterious death of Dr. Robert Harrington, the chief astronomer of the US Naval Observatory, died before he could publicize the fact that Planet X is approaching our solar system. Many feel his death part of a cover-up, one of which government agencies quickly moved to conceal the most earth-shaking discovery in history. If so, the search of truth begins in New Zealand. In 1991, Dr. Robert Harrington, the chief astronomer of the US Naval Observatory, took a punny 8-inch telescope to the Black Birch in New Zealand, one of the few viewing points on Earth optimal for the sighting of Planet X, which he calculated to be approaching from below the ecliptic at an angle of 40 degrees. Dr. Harrington says the most remarkable feature predicted for Planet X is that it orbits tilted 30 degrees away from the ecliptic, the main plane of our solar system, where all previous searches have been concealed. His models also predict a greater distance from the Sun, about 10 billion miles, or between 2 to 3 times as distance as Pluto. By analysing time-lapse photography using blink comparison techniques originated by Farm Pluto discoverer Clyde Tombaugh, Dr. Robert Harrington proved that Planet X was indeed inbound in our solar system. Harrington sent backup reports of the discovery, but died of what was reported of cancer before he could even pack up his telescope and come home to hold what had been a highly publicized press conference. Robert Harrington began the search for Planet X at the Black Birch in April 1991, 2 years before his death. However, considering the painstaking process of trying to find a distant needle in a very large haystack, 2 years is not much at all for a timescale. In April 1991, the new sweep starts in earnest at the Black Birch Observatory in New Zealand. The modest 8-inch telescope, similar to that used by Mr. Tombaugh, will examine the northern part of the constellation Centaurus. Pairs of photographs of the same region of the sky, taken on successive nights, will be sent to Washington using a blink comparator, a device that compares two photographs. Dr. Harrington hoped to locate any faint object that has moved during the interval between the two pictures. Mr. Zachariah Sitchin explained the shocking theory says the deaths are part of a cover-up to prevent the truth of the system, the Planet X Nibiru system, also known as the constellation Nemesis, the destroyer of the information getting out. Mr. David Robinson, that worked at NASA many years ago, insisted that Nibiru theory is an online hoax and there is no proof that it exists. However, members of the so-called Nibiru Society explain it is a deep, dark cover-up. But on the 12th of May 2000, this astronomer down at the SPT telescope in Antarctica, Rodney David Marks, an Australian who died of poisoning while working in Antarctica, resembles very similar instance where we talk about Dr. Robert Harrington that died. Now, many other astronomers and scientific people have passed away, always talking about and predictions of Planet X, had seen something, had they noticed something out there in our solar system below the ecliptic. Many well-known astronomers suggested that Dr. Harrington, supervising astronomer, who claimed to have found Planet X, the Australian astrophysicist, again Rodney Marks, who was working at the South Pole Telescope, both died of mysterious circumstances. Dr. Harrington believed Planet X was an intruder planet that passed through our solar system and said it was capable of supporting alien life. Sadly, Dr. Harrington was mysteriously done away with back in the 1990s before he could say anything, and he was head of the Naval Observatory. Think of this, folks. Then you have the mysterious death in 2000 of an individual at the South Pole Telescope who supposedly died of alcohol poisoning. But indeed, as head of the US Naval Observatory, Dr. Harrington was one of the leading astronomers in the US. This astronomer, along with James Christie, he discovered Pluto's moon, Charon. See, all these people we speak about in this video are all representatives for Dr. Harrington. So again, it is a very strange pattern of evidence of these people that have passed away that knew Dr. Harrington very well. Also became a high-profile Planet X believer. He said the movements of the planets Uranus and Neptune and their moons pointed to another large planet beyond Pluto. All the information has been hidden. Dr. Robert Harrington was interviewed by Zecharia Sitchin in the first person to suggest the existence of Nibiru in 1990. Speaking of the movement of planets, Uranus and Neptune, they're acting very strange. Very different movements in our solar system, the outer reaches of our solar system, that is being pulled and brought back in their movements, meaning, in scientific terms, there is a large celestial body to the further reaches, showing up as a large celestial object. Something big is out there, folks. Mr. Sitchin has translated tablets written by ancient Middle Eastern culture called the Sumerians. Mr. Zecharia Sitchin also said they told of giant planets called Nibiru that orbited the Sun every 3,600 years. The planet, which was populated by alien race called the Anunnaki, passed through the solar system, wreaking havoc. Speaking of Mr. Sitchin, he said, if it is any kind of orbit we described here, it would have to be a planet that would have a mass of something like 3 to 5 times the mass of Earth. So indeed, if this planet turns out to be 3,600 year orbit, then its mass would be correspondingly larger. But we're all talking about something that is perfectly reasonable kind of planet that looks like a good, nice planet, small enough that it's not going to completely envelope in gas. This information also states it's perfectly capable of supporting life forms of one kind or another. The data from Voyager 2 flyby of Neptune, supposedly discovered by Dr. Harrington's calculations in 1992, 6 months later, in January 1993, he died. The cause of death was revealed of cancer. Think about that, folks. Many scientists spoke about this family man, Robert Harrington. They stated he was about to publish new observations that he had made in New Zealand when he died. Observations of Planet X, the destroyer, Nemesis, the Sun's evil twin. Many astronomers in the 1990s explained and claimed that Southern Hemisphere, particularly around the South Pole, is the best place to see Nibiru, whose orbit around the Sun is said to be on a tilt to Earth's. This astronomer, Rodney Marks, died at the South Pole while working on the Antarctic Submillimeter Telescope and Remote Observatory at the Amundsen Scott South Pole Station. The otherwise healthy 32-year-old collapsed while walking between the observatory and the base, became unwell over the next 36 hours, then died. The National Science Foundation, which runs the station, announced he had died of natural causes. But his body wasn't released for the post-mortem in New Zealand for the next 6 months. The autopsy found he died of alcohol poisoning, but it was unclear how much he consumed. Now, they also state he had a ready access of normal alcohol and had no personal problems. The coroner stated he couldn't have drunk it accidentally. The New Zealand police stated that NSF was very uncooperative, refused to give details of the interval report or say who was at the station at the time. The station doctor, Robert Thompson, also disappeared in 2006. The mysterious thing about this, the whole situation, from Dr. Robert Harrington right through to where we speak about the incident of Robert Thompson, it states the coroner has never entered a final verdict on Mark's death and other deaths. So what is going on? What really happened? What is being hidden from us? Planet X, Hercules, the Destroyer, Nemesis, something is being hidden. And it's about time now the public need to be informed. The thing is, this man, Dr. Robert Harrington, he spent most of his time collecting data on viewing conditions and operations of the enormous infrared telescope. Did he know too much? Did he know and also witness through telescopes the situation of Planet X below the ecliptic? Objects of interest. Are these objects now causing weather pattern changes, causing destructions all across the world? Climate change, something different, weather patterns, hurricanes. See, if Dr. Robert Harrington came back to now, the year 2024, and studied everything around him to what he knew back then in the 1990s, suggesting of the Earth's magnetic field discharged against the Planet X system in our solar system, those objects now that have entered our system, the sun's brother Nemesis, discharging electrical discharges. Think about it. Causing problems to other known heavenly bodies. Years ago, planets were dark through photography, but now, when we look at and study the known heavenly bodies in our solar system, they're lightening up, they're bright. Something is going on, a big change. Thank you for watching this very short broadcast. I'm going to come back to you tomorrow with more information about the coming cataclysms from Matt Rogers.